Hello and welcome to the George Gervin episode of the Hoop Theory Podcast, aka episode 63. My name is Logan Wertman. We're recording this one on the afternoon of Sunday, November 5th, and as usual, I am joined by my fancy co-host, Jacob Roth. Jacob, how's it going?
I'm doing good. Not feeling very fancy, but appreciate it.
Why aren't you feeling fancy?
Just my football world is not doing as good as my basketball world at the moment. Patriots struggling a little bit. Huskers lost a tough one on Saturday, but we kept fighting, which was good, and we knew the offense was bad. That's not a secret. Then also everything possible went correctly for us to still somehow be able to play for the Big Ten West. Because Wisconsin lost, Illinois lost. No, Illinois won, but they beat Purdue. No, I'm mixing people up. Anyway, everyone that lost needed to lose. Iowa did win, which stinks, but we can play them head-on-head and get things done.
So what's Nebraska's record now? I don't really pay attention, for those of you who don't know.
5-4. We were 5-3. We're going to be 5-4. We have 3 games to win 1 to make a bowl, which is Maryland at home, Wisconsin on the road, and then Iowa on Black Friday at home. So we
is
have to
Iowa
win.
good this year?
No.
Okay.
No,
better than us, though?
I would call it a just flip a coin in the air.
Okay.
Because when teams have good defenses and terrible offenses, it's always a coin flip.
That would make
Unless
sense.
your defense is insane at turnovers. Because if your offense can't move the ball, your defense is constantly playing at a disadvantage, with less and less field to work with because your offense can't even flip the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just is a genuine issue.
It basically starts off with whoever gets better field position first.
Yes. Also, if any of our listeners are not obviously probably in tune with Nebraska athletics, if you want to run through brick walls, go look up Matt Rule pregame speeches. Even if you don't like Nebraska, no, they're so good.
Mm-hmm.
He did one on the later ones. It was an October game. We had a breast cancer ribbon on the back of the helmets, and he gave a speech, and it was just ah. It was.
I watched
juice.
that one that KD retweeted, but that's the only
that
one
one
I've
was
seen.
also juice because that was the "If We Die, We Die" one, right?
Yeah,
I want to get that T-shirt as a T-shirt.
Yeah,
maybe a tattoo if I feel bold enough. This one, the big one, because he talked about all these things, and he goes, something about a warrior doesn't need a weapon, a warrior is a weapon. You're just Matt, Matt Rule, woo. Anyway,
yeah,
love me some Matt Rule.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but Nebraska volleyball has a scary one against Penn State. Last weekend I was feeling really fancy because my Celtics were firing. Patriots, looked okay. Everything was going great last week, 2 weekends ago, whatever it was. I was feeling on top of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And this weekend I'm just but my Celtics, as this is a basketball podcast, still cooking with some crispy sauce, getting better every game. Looking like it is a definitive 1 in the East. The East runs through TD Garden.
Yeah, it honestly does look like that. I think it'll be Nuggets out west and Celtics out east for most of the season. We're super early in, so that's a pretty bold call, but still, that's what it looks like right now. The Celtics being, I think, the last undefeated team. Right? Yeah. You're right. You guys are 5-0. Nuggets are the only team.
Undefeated?
Nope. Nuggets are the only team with 6 wins, though. We're 6-1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of games. 2 more games?
Mm-hmm. 7 versus 5, I guess. Yeah. I think there's, the lowest somebody's played is 5, and the most somebody has played is 7. So, yeah, that's the opposite end of the spectrum.
I know this week is a big week. The Celtics have a road trip. It's not that bad of a road trip, but they go I think it's Minnesota Monday, who we'll talk about later probably with your Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
And then Philly on Wednesday. And then Friday for our first in-season tournament game, we have Brooklyn.
Okay.
And then we might play Saturday too.
So who's in your guys' group for the in-season tournament? Do you know?
I'm gonna
I know
look it up to make
the
sure I don't give
Nuggets.
bad information.
Yeah, the Nuggets have the Clippers, the Pelicans, the Rockets, and the Mavericks, obviously, because that's who we played. So what is
Oh,
making me
this
a
is
little irked about this is what is with this random group like what is the point of it? Why don't they just do divisions?
this is
Like
comical to me because the Celtics group. You ready for this?
what?
This is because there's 5 teams each group, right?
Yeah, just like a division.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Nets, Raptors, Magic, and Bulls. I don't know if you could have rolled an easier group.
Yeah, for real. Like that makes sense for like the team that had like one of the best records last year, but like the Nuggets were the champions and we get Clippers, Mavs, and Rockets and what was the other team? It was actually a pretty good one. Clippers, Mavs, Rockets, and Pelicans. So like
Yeah.
three pretty good teams and then one not so good team. But it's just yeah, it seems a little weird. I don't know why don't they just do it like divisions? That's what I would prefer. Like I feel like that would be cooler to have like division champions. It's like how like kind of like an NFL bracket style
Yeah,
tournament.
winning your division means something more than it does in the NBA. Because
Yeah.
in the NBA, it's like a thing that gets labeled, but I don't think there's ever like a
Yeah.
we won the Atlantic. Like I
It's
don't think it's ever.
It's a tiebreaker. It's a secondary tie. It's whenever there's a 3-way tie between teams.
Which we almost had a couple years ago in the East, if I remember right.
There was a couple years ago in the West. There was Blazers, Lakers, and Mavs were all tied, and I think it was the Mavs. They were the number 1 seed of their division in the Southwest, so they got the tiebreaker over the other 2 teams, and then the other 2 teams their tiebreakers head to head between each other.
And I get why it's only East and West. I get why it's split that way, obviously, because if you're playing these teams more every year, because it'd be hard to because you play everybody once, and then they do
play everybody twice. Or yeah, in season tournament you play everybody once. Yep.
And then you do the knockout. So I don't know. I am fine with it, I guess. Do you want to talk about the in-season tournament now a little bit?
Yeah, I think we can start with that. But
yeah.
The thing I guess that I'm just confused with it for is just why, like, what is the point of making these random new groups that are changing every year? Why don't you just stick to divisions? Like it's literally the same exact structure as a division, just different teams.
Yeah, I don't get that either. To be completely fair at all, I don't get it. It makes no sense.
They said it's like calculated by something to do with like previous season record, but like I don't see the pattern in why. And like it just seems like why don't you just
What were the Grizzlies seeded last year? Was it the 2 seed?
Yeah, there were 2.
No, that's not how they did it. Because like looking at it, the West is a lot harder than the East because I think the West has like 13 competitive teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then the East has like 12 or 10, 11. It's just the East has a lot less. The whole NBA is primed for expansion, Adam. Everywhere has people that can play. But I just think that like that probably also makes it worse because like another thing is if you look at what's the toughest one, it might honestly be. This is because they're all pretty even outside of East B or East C, sorry, which is the Celtics one. But like breaking them down, it's Memphis, Phoenix, Lakers, Jazz, Blazers. 3 good, 2 bad.
Mm-hmm.
Nuggets was Nuggets, Clippers, Pelicans, Mavs, Rockets. 1 bad and 4 good. So like, there's only so many ways you can. But then the West C honestly has 5 good, 4 and a bad. If you count the Spurs as bad, but we'll talk about them later because okay, maybe the Suns are bad at basketball. They were short some people, but it seems kind of even now. The more and more I look at it, because like the East B is, just an East group is the Bucks, Knicks, Heat, Washington, and Charlotte. Like that's a bunch of turds, and the Bucks.
Yeah,
and
I guess
Knicks, kind of.
I don't know. I get the. One second, some jackass just revved his bike as loud as he could.
I heard it.
I just think it's weird because the groups are not something that's like a thing where you can always know who your group is year after year and like remember like have like a rivalry sort of situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, this
I
whole
would
thing's
prefer
gonna also
that.
get shaken up aggressively in
Yeah.
a short number of years.
Yeah.
But
Things will
with
probably
these,
not remain
so
the same.
we were under kind of a little bit of confusion. Games only happen on, was it Fridays and Tuesdays?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fridays and Tuesday games will be your in-season tournament games through just before Christmas, right?
Yeah. I think all of November, I want to say. And yeah, maybe a little bit into Christmas or into December.
Oh, championship's the 9th, so it's well before Christmas. So it's pretty much just the month of November.
Yeah.
On Fridays and Tuesdays, you will have group play and then into the knockout round. But the knockout round starts...
And that's in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I think all of the actual tournament games will be in Las Vegas.
I thought it was only 8 teams advance.
Yeah. So those games will be in Las Vegas, I think.
Yeah. So the knockout rounds will consist of single elimination games in the quarterfinals played in the NBA team markets on the 4th and 5th of December. So the first round so only 4 teams go to Vegas. And then the teams that play in the championship will play 83 games as opposed to 82.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then the thing that confuses me is if you're not counting an extra game, like if Nuggets Celtics are playing in the quarterfinal in Vegas, does the Celtics Nuggets game in Denver or in Boston just get removed? It just gets moved and it's gone now from where they'll just have an off day whenever that game was supposed to happen down the road.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that I assume,
because with my luck, it's going to be the Denver.
Or no,
Boston
probably
game.
not. Probably not. I'm guessing
But then
these games are probably the ones that are the extra, because you know how if you play everybody twice and then you play everybody in your conference 3 times and everybody in your division 4 times, there's still like something like 10-ish games left over. To get to 82. So those games are probably what's in here. Like, it doesn't matter who you play because, you know, you might play some team 3 times instead of 2, but it's fine.
So do they just not have 82 games scheduled? That's what I guess I'm more trying to figure out. Is I understand that it would be one of the extra games that you have that's not like the required.
So they do have 82 games scheduled. It just doesn't, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't change anything that's already scheduled. You get what I mean?
But that means they would, unless I'm tracking wrong, they would have to know what's going to happen.
No, they don't. That's what I'm saying. Like, everything else is nailed down. You play every other team the minimum amounts.
Yes.
And then these ones are just, they don't matter who you play because it'll just be extra.
But then how do they have 82 games scheduled?
They don't have 82. They have whatever the number is that is the minimum for how many you need to play against each team, which is like 70 or 74 or something like that. I don't know.
Okay. Now I'm tracking.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't count the games they had scheduled. I didn't count.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure how many they have on the actual schedule with like this is the team that's playing this team thing. But I mean, but there's only going to be a handful of games that are not scheduled. You know, the actual in-tournament ones.
There's only 2. Or 3. 3.
Yeah. At max.
Well, and only 2 of them would matter. Because it would only be the only ones where they have to make a matchup that fits into the 82 would be your group of 8 and your group of 4. Your quarter and your semifinals would be the only 2 where you don't know who you'd be playing. And they make a matchup out of the ranking thing. You know what I mean?
They make a matchup out of the ranking.
So out of the group stage, because that championship game is an extra game you can just forget about. Like that.
Yeah, but you can forget about these too, though. Kind of like it's like anything after whatever 16 or 15 times 14, like whatever when you play everybody twice, your division 3 times or your conference 3 times and your division 4 times, whatever that adds up to, that number is like the only ones that matter in terms of how many, you know, games you play against somebody else. Everything after that is like flex, you know, so that's already how it is. Like,
I understand that we're on the same wavelength on that one. What I'm saying is if they already have 82 games scheduled,
which I don't
in
think
terms
they
of
do.
released at the beginning of the year. They don't. They didn't do 82 games.
I think they do. They have like 79 because, or no,
And so the teams just get plugged in a couple months in advance.
They'd have 80 because the team that makes it to the finals plays 83.
Yes, that's what I was. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think every team baseline is only scheduled to play 80 games as opposed to 82.
Playing 80, and then at some point, probably the day after the end season, they'll just randomly throw 3 games in or 2 games in for everybody.
Maybe. I honestly don't know if they'll just play 80 because that's like people wanted to play less games.
I feel like that would have been like announced rather obviously that most teams will play 80 games except for these 4.
I feel like there might have been some conversation about that. I don't remember.
I know there was a discussion about it because they wanted less games.
Yeah, that's been a thing for a while. They want to go to 72. There's a lot of people.
But then the problem with that is, if not, the one extra game's a little different. But if you got one team playing 3 more games for like MVPs, for Rookie of the Year, like there's so many more things that's like.
But why does that affect that? Because now that there's the you have to just play 65 games, for the award thing. That's why I like that addition of the games played thing for awards, because then you don't have to look at games played for awards. It's just whoever's played more than 65 is an equal candidate to anybody else.
But we brought up how Embiid last year or 2 years ago had this crazy number in the games played if he had to play 65, which I think he barely did last year. But like,
played 66 last year, yeah.
We'll go back and go to MVP 1 of Jokic where he played 82, right?
I think
Jokic having 30, 15, and 10 playing 82 games is leaps and bounds more impressive than Embiid having 30, 15, and 10 in 66 games.
Yeah, I guess you can make that argument. I like the addition of the 65 game minimum rule because I'm turning that off as a variable now, because in the past I've never known how to quantify games play. Yeah, because I'm like, it feels like other people are like, oh, if you played this many games, more games than this other guy, then that matters this much, and I'm like, I never know how to weigh that. Like, I feel like as long as they've played 65, that's makes them a candidate,
Yeah, but if I ever have a vote, there's no world where I won't. If that
it could be a tiebreaker. Happens, I think you could look at it as a tiebreaker.
But just because if a guy and somebody else have the same stats and there's like 15 different games played, a difference of 15, that's like a ton of games to be like, that's a wash. Yeah. Like I get where you're coming from as well, but I feel like, so yeah, I should just sometimes sit down and count how many games they have scheduled. But I think they'd have to make everybody play the same outside of. I thought I heard somewhere everyone will play 82 except outside of the champion will play 80. The people in the championship game who will play 83.
Okay. Yeah, that might be the case.
I thought I heard that. And if that's also the case, then after that championship game, they'll just look forward and plug in games for people. They'll just make a couple extra matches to get everybody to that 82 because they couldn't have bet on certain people making it and certain people not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then teams that played in that knockout stage won't have any games added. Only teams that didn't. So the 8 teams that make it to the knockout won't have any games added to their schedule.
So there are some teams that could have 81, you're saying?
No. So like, because
you're right,
the first round would have to play the 4 teams that lose in the first round that don't make it to the semifinals would have to have 1 game added. Mm-hmm. But the quarterfinal teams wouldn't, and then obviously the championship teams wouldn't have to have any added because they'd be at 82 with that in-season tournament. I'm sorry, I don't know why I had to do mental gymnastics on this now, but my brain was like struggling to.
I also think, I don't know at what point, but I think I heard somewhere that somebody said the losses in either just the championship or maybe in the Final Four, the losses don't count towards the record. No,
it should only be the championship game because you're playing an extra game, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. But I guess that makes sense because there's like nothing that you could lose for getting to the tournament round, like the bracket.
And also they have to play 80 because they put betting lines on 82. They have to play. Everybody has to play at least 82. And then I bet you that championship 83rd game doesn't count.
Well, the betting lines in seasons that have been shortened, like we previously didn't know were going to be shortened, they just go by percentage, like
But
win
we
percentage
knew
equivalent.
this season going in was going to look like this.
Yeah, but so we felt that way going into the COVID year that ended up being only 70 games, 72 games or whatever.
No, I'm tracking. I'm more saying that this, like...
Oh, I see. But
this season was advertised as an 82-game season. There's not something outside that's coming in to shorten the season. This is like what the NBA rolled out.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but
because what they did in past years, they either nullified vote or they just adjust like, oh, they only played 72 math, move down, or did they just kill
for
all
betting
the
odds? Yeah,
mm-hmm. That's what. So like, if a team just because an easy number is 50 or 41 wins, and they only played
73 or 70 or whatever you want to say, we don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everybody gets it. They just go by win percentage.
Instead of games played, they just took the percentage of what it would be.
Percentage equivalent. Yeah.
Win percentage. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah. So.
But the main reason is the courts. Sorry, I don't know if you have anything else to add. We kind of jumped around.
Yeah. I guess one thing.
Your mic's out for me. I don't know if it is for the recording, but it is for me.
Hello.
I've got you back.
But what I was gonna say, I saw something today or yesterday, I think, that Tyrese Halliburton said that he thinks that the winner of the tournament, the in-season tournament, should get an automatic playoff berth. Like that could be a thing that could incentivize teams to get it. And I'm like, I don't think so, because what in the world would that, like, if you secure a playoff spot in November or December, I guess, because early December is when the championship game is. If it's early December and your team is already guaranteed a playoff spot, what is the point of the whole rest of the season?
You would just practice.
Yeah.
And just
like there's no point to do to play your stars, to do like really anything. So that's a terrible idea.
Well, I also thought it was a terrible idea because there's only one team. So like there's a year where you're a playing team and you're fighting for your life and you're right there. And then somehow the 11th highest, we'll just use the East. Somehow the 11th best team in the East won the in-season tournament and you're the 10 seed a couple games ahead of them. And then you just don't get to be in the play-in. Because I'd imagine they would just like shrink the play-in to be the 9-8 to play the 7. You know what I mean? Right?
I'm not tracking at all.
Okay. So it wouldn't work because the East, then you're like qualifying for the playoffs and the East and the West would just be different. Because only one team gets in.
Yeah, but the West would just be normal. If an Eastern Conference team wins it, the West would just be normal. The East would just lock in somebody with a playoff spot, and then whoever is the 10 seed is just not the 10 seed anymore. And the 9 is the 10 seed, and so on and so forth,
But I'm saying that if the team that wins the tournament does what you say and is one of the worst teams in the NBA, we're on the same page of there's no world that this will happen. Because then you tank, you get the first overall pick, and you still make the playoffs.
That would definitely have to be a rule that they would change for sure.
But my thing is, like, let's say that it's the 11th best team in the East. I'll use the Magic. Are the team that won the play-in miraculously. Magic win the play-in, and the team above them is like 3 or 4 games above them, and they're the 10 seed. But since they automatically won it, the 10 seed that
did you mean the in-season tournament, not the play-in? They won the in-season tournament.
They won the Magic win the in-season tournament as the 11s end up being the 11 seed in the East.
Yep.
The team they're behind is the Raptors, who are the 10 seed, but they're like 4 or 5 games behind. The Magic are behind the Raptors. The Raptors are just SOL of the whole season played.
Yeah, that's how it would work. Yeah, for sure.
And that's dumb. It's dumb for more reasons than that, but that is reason numero uno that it is a stupid idea.
Also, I think that's even a better situation than what Tyrese Halliburton is proposing, because he's saying secure a playoff spot, not just a play-in spot.
Oh. I'm saying that because then the plans would just shift up 1. Because there's like the 10 would get knocked down, so 6 and 7 would have to be play-in. The traditional 7-8 would be 6-7, and vice versa. So like
exactly.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's levels of stupid.
It would be. I agree.
The only world where it's like, maybe if you win the play-in, or you win the in-season and you're in the play-in, you can get like, in the one elimination knockout, you can get like, they have to beat you again or something stupid. That's dumb.
I don't even think they should do anything.
No, there's nothing. It shouldn't exist. That's a dumb idea. Tyrese Halliburton, you're a wizard on the basketball court. Stay out of front office.
Yeah. You get an extra win for your win percentage, which is a good thing.
But not in the championship game.
I think you do.
For the 83rd? That's so dumb.
Well, that's a good thing. Why is that dumb?
No. It's dumb in terms of just like making people be on different playing fields. And I get they earned it and they played for it.
Being different.
But if the losses don't count and the win does, it just gives someone else an extra opportunity. Yeah,
that's the point of it, though.
But it shouldn't be. It's supposed to be something that doesn't impede on the season.
Impede? It's an incentive for teams to want to get.
Hypothetical situation. I'm tracking with you. The Bucks and Celtics. Bucks beat the Celtics in the in-season tournament. Okay. Only in the knockout stages. We'll say in the quarterfinals. Just to whatever. Because I think they're setting up so it has to be East-West at the end. In the championship game, I think.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
So they beat them in the quarterfinals. So the Bucks get that extra game. Comes down to the
semifinals. They beat them in the semifinals.
They beat them in the semifinals, so the Bucks end up getting that extra game to play 83 games.
Mm-hmm.
The Celtics beat them in every other way, whatever.
They have a tied record.
They have a tied record, and the Bucks would get it.
If they have just one more win, why shouldn't they? I don't see that's just literally just a tiebreaker. It's not that big of a deal.
But it's just the head-to-head tiebreaker. I always felt that if they have a tied record.
But in this case, they wouldn't have a tied record because they won the in-season tournament. They got
They'd have one more loss.
They'd have one more win.
83. No, if both teams have 42 wins, so Celtics would be 42-40, Bucks would be 42-41. So they would have a worse win percentage, so that wouldn't matter. Never mind. My brain broke. No. Yes. Sorry. I had it flipped around in my brain.
You're saying Bucks lose in the championship game? Or win?
Yes. Sorry. They have the same record, but the Bucks lose in the championship game.
Oh. Well, so then they wouldn't. They would have a normal record because it would not. That loss wouldn't be added to the loss column.
But just the win would be, which would give them the bump up.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want a loss thing because why punish the second place winner of the in-season tournament? Like, who would want to get second place? You know what I mean? No one would want to get.
Yeah, but the Celtics loss in the same tournament for the same thing counts.
Yeah, because it was earlier on, and and that's just like a normal regular season game. It wasn't like.
It just was a pretty coat of paint on a regular season.
I honestly am not against all of the tournament games. Like once they're in the knockout round, I'm not against. Yeah, I wouldn't be against that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like for those losses to not count against them, because what would
losses or wins? Just make the games not count.
I would say wins do count. I like that idea because it's like an actual. Because how else do you make like an actual impactful advantage from getting to that point for impacting the rest of the season? You know what I mean?
Maybe this is going back to our gambling thing, which I don't even ever think made the episode of like, why change it? Why are we swapping things around that already is like a beautiful thing that works? Why are we like?
Because I think there's a lot of people who think that it's not a beautiful thing that works, and that's why they are trying to change. That's the whole point around adding this in-season tournament is because everybody's like saying that the NBA is boring during the regular season. The ratings keep going farther and farther down because the regular season games are there's too many of them and teams don't care about them enough, basically. And so they're trying to add this like stretch of the season where things do matter more. Yeah.
Well, hey, Adam Silver, don't do it in November at the start of the season. Don't do it 5 games in.
I agree. I think it should probably be Christmas. It should probably be around or maybe even after.
Football
I feel
playoffs, January.
Yeah.
Have the in-season tournament end at the start of the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's what I was
Magic.
thinking. Mm-hmm.
Just have it be the guys play, and then then the championship game would rotate to different places. The Final Four could rotate to different places.
For where the All-Star game is?
It would not be in All-Star break, but it would give that city an extra week pretty much of things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the teams would be there, and it would just be like an extended All-Star weekend.
And then you get all of the like, you know, faces from around the league that aren't in that game are all there watching it.
But it can't be during the, unless you're going to just make maybe that's what they do. They just make it a longer All-Star break.
Yeah. Well, it could just be the first day of it could be like on Friday, you know, Friday there's that
like the
game.
Championship game.
Yeah. And so those teams are the only teams playing a game still. And then after that, they're on break.
They get the break. And then you just guarantee that they don't have to play coming right back out of the All-Star break.
Yeah.
For the
they might not play till Friday instead of
the next
Thursday.
week instead of playing on the Thursday.
Yeah.
Or Wednesday. When do they open after the? Is it always on
Thursday?
Friday?
I think.
On Thursday.
I think they get Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off.
So and that would be, and then your quarterfinal game could still be, just have it be played as like a regular game at a regular person's thing.
Yeah.
Instead of making that a special game, also just make, or the semifinal. Sorry, I think quarter 4 teams, but my brain's dumb. The semifinal games are just like a regular game, and then the championship game would be this opening to All-Star. I think we just did Adam Silver's job, or whoever does that for the NBA. That's a way better idea, because that's when the NBA starts to go down. People stop caring, because it's right in this weird middle, like, it's about halfway through, trade deadline, people pay attention for that a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like, and then you could also stretch it out so Tuesday games don't have to be as part of your play-in tournament. You can have your play-in tournament start in December and just sprinkle them in every single Friday as like, there's a day where there's not NFL football. You want some meaningful NBA basketball on Wednesdays. Yeah. Tuesday's also a day like that. I get why Tuesday's the other day. But like Fridays, like people would go to bars and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
These fun little,
and there would only be one a week, so it'd make it more of like an appointment viewing, you know.
Yeah, there'd be only one. Yeah, I think each team already only has one per week, but it would be like spread out more.
Yeah, I guess as more of like general people watching other teams' games, not just their ones. Yes. I guess. Yeah.
Yes. We need to. Should we write a letter? I think we should. I'll write a letter.
I mean, we have this. We could send this to somebody.
That's true. No, I genuinely think that we should probably we'll do like we'll make a PowerPoint, or I'll make a PowerPoint, and we'll do like a more concise, less rambly now that we've got our thoughts out there. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, you should try this.
Yeah, that would be good.
Because who complains? Who doesn't like it?
Yeah, honestly. I think that would be a better way to do it, because I feel like there's enough
excitement already right now.
Yeah, for the early season, for people watching, seeing new faces on new teams and like rookies and stuff like that. So, yeah. But looking at, I guess, the courts, you wanted to.
I was a hater on the courts, and none of the atrocities outside of Chicago's court saw action on Friday.
And I take back what I said about, because I said I kind of dug, whatever.
You weren't watching it, were you?
Yeah,
you were watching.
I wasn't until later, and when I actually started watching it, I was like, "Oh no, this is terrible." But I saw earlier that day, I saw like a picture when the arena was empty. Like earlier that day, somebody took a picture from like up in the rafters, and I was like, "Oh, that looks kind of cool." But then in the game, it was like way too bright of a red. It was like just way too much.
It was really That's why I'm terrified for New Orleans when they play on Friday.
For the green.
Oh my! Whoa. Well, and the thing I didn't like about Chicago's also is the ball disappeared sometimes.
Yeah.
Not like but it was just like, I feel like keeping an eye on the ball should not be like a labor.
Yeah.
On the eyes.
I agree. They have some touches to make, but I like I think they should do more of like the neutral colors, like gray or white or things like that on the court. But I do like doing the non-wood color, because that's like the differentiator of like, oh, this is in-season tournament, not like a normal game.
And then I think the NBA did a very good job. I will defend them where I can. Jerseys none of the City Edition jerseys blend in with the courts thus far.
Mm-hmm.
They just exist. They don't blend in. They just exist. So also, I think that's worth bringing up.
The Nuggets jerseys that everybody hates, and I also hate, don't look quite as bad when they're wearing them.
That's very true.
Like I when I saw them on the players, I was like, oh, this is like not like, I would like them if they just didn't have the big 5280 on the on the belly, and instead it was like on the
Denver.
chest and said
Don't
Nuggets.
change. Don't even change anything. You can leave it on the belly because you need a different look. Whatever, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Just have it say Denver.
Mm-hmm. That would be better, for
or
sure.
Nugs.
Or Nugs. I would like
I would rock
Nugs.
Nugs.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I also don't love the. I feel like I would like
also,
the.
How crisp would that court be? Just Nugs across the middle. That would be a meme. That would give you instant internet fame.
Yeah. But the little, the wraparound on the jersey, the blue with the mountain. I feel like if that was like a little bit less, like close to the black, like you could see it a little bit more, I would like it. I kind of get like wanting it to be kind of faded,
like a shadow-ish vibe. Yeah.
But I don't love that one.
While we're on your Nuggets, would you like to talk about probably one of the few times we'll be able to talk about Nuggets not playing super well?
Yeah.
I know you wanted to bring it up, and I feel like we could just rip off the Band-Aid and get it done now, because I have nothing further to talk about. We already did quite a bit of content on the group play.
Yes, we did. So in the Nuggets game that we've lost so far, we're 6-1. We're the only team with 6 wins at the moment. I can't remember if we mentioned that on episode or if that was before. Yeah, like you guys, the Celtics are the only undefeated team left, but the Nuggets are the only team with 6 wins.
Celtics have 4 games this next week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Mm-hmm. So that will catch up when we're 9-0. It'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. And so the Nuggets' only loss was against the Wolves, so an in-division rival. And also just kind of a team that is specifically built to compete against the Nuggets intentionally by their GM, Tim Connolly, who's the former GM of the Nuggets.
He's done a good job to beat the Nuggets.
He has. Yeah, for sure. Because he knew the thing that gave Jokic the biggest troubles while he was in Denver was teams with 2 bigs. And he's like, I'll get 2 bigs. And I kind of want, the reason why I wanted to talk about this game is because I wanted to give some respect to the Wolves, honestly, because I heard a lot in the playoffs last year and people just talking, like a lot of Nuggets fans saying that Gobert is trash and like he gets just roasted by Jokic. Like, how can he be a great defender if Jokic just roasts him? Yeah. And I was like, to me, when I'm watching games, there's a clear difference in games where Jokic is playing against a guy like Gobert or a guy like AD in particular. Those 2 guys are the main ones. Where it's like when it's a game versus those 2 guys, Jokic misses a lot of shots and like stuff is tougher for him in the paint than it normally is. Like, it's noticeable. It's not that he has like bad games and he's not still like dominating, but it definitely he can't just play the exact same way. He does have to like alter how he plays a little bit because of that presence inside. So there's definitely an effect that they have on Jokic, like just in terms of like being able to contest his shot and blocking some of those that usually aren't blocked. So I just wanted to mention that it's not like Gobert's a complete zero. Like he's definitely a obstacle for Jokic to overcome.
I think he's turned into almost like a meme villain. He's kind of like the Nickelback of the NBA world. Like,
exactly.
He's got good stuff, but people are like, oh, he's shown up in the playoffs. I'm like, yeah, because you're asking him to be a defense for 5 people as one man in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did the whole COVID thing. So then just Gobert was a villain.
Yeah. And he was good in the playoffs last year with the Wolves. So
no, I mean,
people,
he was the reason that
nobody talked about it.
Except, I mean, then you hear like Bruce Brown, oh, I think our hardest series, that's the one that I always think of, was the T-Wolves. And Gobert was like 45%, and then Ant was the other 55% of why it was like, that was tough.
Yeah.
And that exact recipe that made that playoff series tough gave them their first loss. On top of just seemed like an off night, which is going to happen. It's an 82-game season.
Yeah.
It just seemed like an off night for the Nuggets.
Yeah, I want to say Jokic had, at one point, it was like he had 20, I think he had 15 of our 17 points at the start of the game, which is nuts. That's like 87% or whatever.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Doing off the brain math.
Yeah, but so like, and Jokic, for those who don't know, if Jokic is scoring a lot, that usually means the game's not going well.
Yes. I was like, that is the thing that whoever you want to say discovered it. 88%. You were pretty much right on the money of the points. I had to look it up. But like that's the way you beat Jokic is just like, okay, make him like force funnel him everything. And now that he's like so efficient, it's like, okay, well, it's not as fun.
Yeah.
And he was like a lot more reluctant to have to do it, but things are going badly if Jokic has a 60-point game. That was not a great team Nuggets. Obviously, if he had 60, it's not a team game, but Nuggets probably lose the more Jokic scores. Like, you get like an impasse of like a ratio of assists to points. I was stumbling around looking for that word. The ratio of assists to points can tell you how good a Nuggets game was with Jokic directly.
Yeah, honestly, probably could. And so like in the Wolves game, it was interesting because like the Wolves definitely had a distinct like game plan, and the Nuggets typically the way they usually play, because of how dominant they are, they can get away with this, but like how they usually play is just like take whatever the defense gives you.
Yep.
So it's like whatever the defense is doing, we're going to play into their hand, but we're still going to do it.
We've got enough pieces that we don't have to care.
Yeah. So like if somebody closes out hard on an MPJ, like for a kick out when he gets the ball, like for a catch and shoot three, if somebody's closing out hard on him, he won't take it usually. He'll actually pump fake and put it on the floor or try to get to the rim. The Wolves, that was their entire game plan, was close out as hard as possible on every shooter because we want them to drive into the paint against Gobert and Cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there was so many times in the first quarter where MPJ and Jamal in particular were getting into the paint because they gave up, like they didn't take their shot on the 3-point line because somebody ran them off. And then they get into the paint and they just are stonewalled by Gobert and just all the length down there. The other really big thing that I think would have made a difference in that playoff series, like 100% would have made a difference. I'm not saying they would have won. I don't think we would have actually lost this playoff series last year if Jaden McDaniels was there. But he was a big, like that would have been a big thing because it would have been
scary. I don't think they go to 7 or anything crazy like that, but there's a chance they have to play 6 and every game's scarier.
Yeah, Jokic would definitely had to have like taken more of the load because Jamal, like I think Jamal is, it's probably the toughest matchup that I've seen Jamal have to deal with, like where it's like stays with him stride for stride, and he's just so long that like Jamal is just, it gives him a lot of trouble. So I remember I said earlier in a few episodes ago, I kind of laughed at the GM survey saying that somebody voted Jalen, I just said his name, Jaden McDaniels, not Jalen. That's his brother. Jaden McDaniels as a breakout season candidate. And I think that, honestly, I take that back. I wish I wouldn't have laughed at that because there are definitely some things that he could probably add. Like before I was like, he's just got a 3-and-D wing. That's already what he is. So I don't think he'll, like, how is he really going to break out? But he could break out to be like, being like a absolute 100% like all NBA, like all defense defender.
Early Kawhi, like levels of like, no one you will shoot 17% on this man. And then on the other side, if he has like if they need him to, which they don't, fun fact, because they have Ant.
Yeah.
He can hit a bucket or two. Like early Kawhi, not finals Kawhi, where he did a lot for him offensively, but just straight, I will take your best guy that's my size and neutralize him the most that anybody can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and on the offensive end, being like knockdown shooter, developing in that way, and also being a guy who can put it on the floor a little bit, get in the mid range, take it to the basket, just kind of, what's the word for it? Purify that offensive game a little bit to get to that level. I feel like that could definitely happen. And the other thing, watching him just makes me so mad. Like, I think that's the number one take that I've had in that whole, like, trying to make the decisions for the GM.
Jaden McDaniels should be a Nugget.
Yeah, like...
We got that text, like, 3 or 4 times during that, when was it? At some point last year, I just got, Jaden McDaniels should be a Nugget. Like, I could go back and find a couple examples.
Oh, last year? I
feel like
probably, yeah. I feel like I've done it, like, multiple years.
Yeah, we're just like
ever since
he should be a Nugget. He should be a Nugget.
Yeah. Like, I love Zeke Naji, don't get me wrong, but he's not Jaden McDaniels. It's not a competition right now. Like, I'm not saying there's no way Zeke could turn out to be the better player for his whole career,
I'd
but
say
like that is a pretty big gap at this point.
No, I would say that the ceilings are like the same ballpark, but right now the floor for McDaniels is just so much higher.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, when you're a team like the Nuggets, you don't really care about people's ceilings because you have the all-time ultimate floor raiser in the history of ever. So guys that have a high floor that you can just like bring up.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Jaden McDaniels was just a no-brainer pick there because of, the reason why people were scared off of him. Because he was like a top 5 high school recruit. But then he slid all the way to 20. He got picked after 22nd because Zeke Naji was the 22nd pick. I think he might have been like 23rd or 24th is where he actually got picked. But I thought he should have been picked at 22. The reason why people were scared off of him was because he had an absolutely terrible freshman season at Washington.
Really, really bad.
Yeah, didn't shoot well at all. They lost a lot of games. I think he also had more turnovers than assists. Kind of a Jaylen Brown.
No, thing. He looked like the lights were too bright, and he wasn't even the NBA yet.
Yeah,
it just was a rough year.
Mm-hmm. But his raw physical tools and everything is what still made him capable of going to the NBA for like a one and done. It made him a late first round draft pick instead of a lottery pick. But I thought that was Nuggets were a perfect team to take a swing on a guy like that. Because we don't need him to pan out, but what if he does?
If he does,
it's kind of
the
same.
You just have a cheaper MPJ.
Yeah, the same reason we drafted MPJ. Like the same reason why taking that swing made sense for the Nuggets at 14 was because it was like, well, we have our core. We're probably going to be competing in the playoffs here in a couple of years, so we don't really need this guy to pan out. But if he does, we're going to be scary.
If his back hurts, we don't care. Which
yeah.
It still does, but well, no, because in a weird way, has MPJ just kind of morphed into Jaden McDaniels?
Well, he's been playing good on defense, and he's not Jaden McDaniels on defense.
No, but like his play style has pushed more into that than what he was.
Oh yeah, being more of like a role player instead of a star. You mean?
We'll be more of a 3-and-D role player.
Yeah.
As opposed to like what he kind of was expected to be coming out of Mizzou, which was like, I am a flamethrower,
like a KD.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's disrespectful to KD's defense, but yes.
Yeah, but that was like his main comparison in the draft. Him and like T-Mac was another big comparison.
Yeah. Also, KD made me think of Wemby. Have you seen this picture?
No.
We can finish out your Nuggets things before we talk about it, but
yeah. Okay, so I think the last thing I'll say about the Nuggets, though, Jokic was the only really good thing in that game. Everybody else was terrible, and Jokic also he has had Sombor doubles, which for those who don't know is a near miss triple double where he has like 9 assists or 9 rebounds, one of those. He's had those the past 2 games now, so I wanted him to get 108, so pass Jason Kidd in the first in-season tournament game for the Nuggets on Friday when we played against the Mavericks. Because that just would have been cool, him passing Jason Kidd while Jason Kidd is coaching on the other team. But sadly, he ended with 9 assists, and then he also got 9 assists the other night. But he's definitely the all-time. I don't even know. I want to look up that list sometime, but I know he's the all-time leader in games where somebody has a double-double with 9 in the other category. I think he has like 45 on his career.
Which is the disprovement of him being a stat pattern.
Yeah, like unless now this new stat padding is him just getting to that number and then going out. Yeah. But yeah, so that was the other interesting thing. But we also so we played the Bulls the other night and the Mavs the night before that. Got both of those wins. So we're still undefeated at home, and hopefully we keep that up. But just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to the Wolves, which I guess I should give a little bit more context for those listening. The reason why that was such a game to talk about is because the final score was the Nuggets only put up 89 points, which is very unlike the Nuggets.
That's even bad teams usually get to 90 or 95.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the Wolves did that to the best offense in basketball.
In a vacuum.
If you're saying they're not a top 3 offense in the NBA, you're delusional.
Yeah.
And they held them to under 90.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
But I think that, yeah, like I said before, I think the number one, like the best team imaginable for the Timberwolves to match up with and like do better than everybody else against is the Nuggets. So there's a little bit piece of that, but even with that, this was still a pretty lopsided affair that should not have been to the degree that it was. So it was a 110-89 win. So yeah, and I don't even think Ant had like an insane game or anything. He might have now that I say that. 24 points, but yeah, I think that'll be enough for Nuggets Corner, I guess is kind of what that turned into. But we have two more things on the docket as we're looking to end this episode at some point. Try not to let this one go as long as this last several have, but we have the Harden trade to talk about, but also Wemby. Did you want to end on Wemby still?
We can end on Wemby. I'm trying to find this picture of Katie trying to block Wemby. I think it was on their Halloween night game.
Okay. But yeah, the big news that we could have talked about last episode if we would have recorded it the next day, and that was the Harden trade. Like we talked a little bit about it last episode where I was mentioning like it'll inevitably happen. Like Harden will be moved inevitably at some point. And then lo and behold, it was that very day that it happened. And it doesn't give the Sixers like a ton for right now. It gives them more depth, but it doesn't like replace Harden's contribution really. Which you could say that just having Maxey there doing what he's been doing kind of is a substitution. Yeah. Kind of is making up for that loss in Harden. But so yeah, I think the Sixers came away about as good as you can from this situation with James Harden having not the best recent history. So his trade value is not near as high as a player of his ilk should be. But they basically just got some 3-and-D wings in exchange for James Harden, and PJ Tucker, by the way, was also given up in the trade. So the 76ers sent Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Petrusev to the Clippers for Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, and KJ Martin, as well as a 2028 unprotected first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. Also a 2029 pick swap and an additional first-round pick from the Oklahoma City Thunder, which I don't know how they got in on that. If the Clippers dumped somebody off to the Thunder as a part of this deal, and the Thunder just gave him a pick.
I know it was talked about, but I don't know if I've seen it yet. Like, I know that was like, oh, this will probably happen, but I don't know if I've seen anything official.
Oh, so apparently the Clippers are sending a 2027 first-round pick swap to the Thunder, clearing the way for the Thunder to move a protected 2026 first-round pick to the Sixers. So the Clippers sent the Thunder a swap in exchange for them sending a pick, I guess.
It was a 3-way team thing.
Yeah, it was a 3-way trade, but
it actually was, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Why?
Or was it just straight up one?
It was a 3-team trade,
okay.
But the Thunder just didn't have any player personnel moved in or out. It was just picks. But which is just weird. I've never seen that happen before, where a team gives up a first-round pick in exchange for a swap. It seems backwards. But
whose swap are they getting?
The Clippers in 2027, which could be good.
I would argue it's probably for sure better than what they'll have.
Yeah, but that is
not worth, I guess.
Yeah, it makes like it gets a little bit better of your own pick, but you're also giving up a different year's pick. You know?
Yeah, so they have to be getting something else. That's weird.
It must be like cash or something. I don't know. That is weird.
Because Sam Presti doesn't lose that bad.
Yeah,
he doesn't do that. That's weird.
Mm-hmm. Unless the league is like, hey, you have to trade some of these picks. Like get rid of some of them. But yeah, so now the Clippers have a lineup of Russell Westbrook, James Harden, once he does play. I don't think he's played in a Clippers uniform yet, as far as I know. I think he's been out still with getting back up to speed. So yeah, so Russ, Harden, PG, Kawhi, and Ivica Zubac is their starting 5, which is, when everybody's healthy, is pretty formidable. They got PJ Tucker as a key bench player there too. Norm Powell off the bench still. And also they didn't give up Terrence Mann, which was like apparently the deal breaker. Like the reason why the deal took this long to actually happen was because the Clippers were not willing to throw in Terrence Mann this whole time.
Did you see his comment that he was like, he was very relieved. He like came out and was like, I was glad to still be a Clipper when I woke up.
Oh, really?
Because he saw the notification Harden's getting moved, and he was like,
I honestly think that the Sixers would be a way better fit for Terrence Mann.
But maybe he just doesn't vibe with something. Or
yeah,
want to move, want to just move across the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would make sense. I don't know where he's from. I know he went to FSU, but yeah, it's probably relocating for no reason in the middle of the season is probably not very well, he's from New York, actually. He was born in New York. So up in Philly's neck of the woods, which I don't know if you can call the Northeast metropolitan like area.
I feel like if anything, it's like bad blood because of how segmented they are.
If anything, it's bad blood. Is that what you said?
Yeah, like if you're like in New York,
he wouldn't like Philly.
Like, I'm a big Philly guy.
Yeah, but at least it's like close to family and
home,
friends.
Yeah.
But unless he's just like only born there and didn't grow up there, that could be a thing.
That's also true. Shout out to Gerald Ford, former president of the United States in Omaha. He was born in Omaha. Did not grow up there at all. He was always in Michigan.
I honestly didn't even know that.
Yep, Gerald Ford was born in Omaha.
Wow. That's news to me.
Only like Nebraska, quote unquote, president.
Is that true?
Other ones have gotten close, but yeah.
Wow.
Like there was one, William Jennings Bryan.
Never heard of him.
Bryan LGA. So it's Bryan. William Jennings Bryan, like Bryan LGA.
Oh, the hospital.
Yep, okay. Named after him. He was a writer. He's also one of the statues at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. for Nebraska, or he used to be. Now I think it is that lady author and an Indian chief.
Lady author Jane Austen?
Not Nebraska.
Is she not from Nebraska?
Nope, she's English.
Oh, really? Who is it that's from Nebraska?
Willa Cather.
Oh, yeah. She is like poet, right? She's a poet?
Well, she wrote the Little House on the Prairies.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I knew that. There might be another person that I'm thinking.
I want to make sure I'm not leading you astray. Yes, Jane Austen is in fact a British person.
Yeah.
Hello, governor.
But yeah, so
cut that out.
The hello, governor.
No, you don't have to. It's okay. I'm a little stupid. But we were before we got distracted. We were on. Oh,
Harden.
Terrence Mann is from New York, but he might not like Philly. But he didn't want to leave, which totally makes sense, even though the fit might be a little bit better. Just thought of a hypothetical big brain. Sam Presti doing some favors for Daryl Morey.
Okay.
You know, helping things happen.
Yeah.
In preparation for Joel Embiid to throw a fit and be like, hey, Daryl, I'll pay fair, but don't upcharge me. I help you out, buddy.
In preparation for getting Embiid later? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, dial it in.
Maybe.
Like, I'll send you this Chet Holmgren. You ever heard of him? And 4 first-round picks, because guess what? I've still got 7 in the trunk. Because I did you that favor. It's only if Embiid is like, I don't want anything to do with this brotherly love anymore. But that won't happen. Embiid is as Philly as like cheesesteaks, which seems wild for a guy that was born in Cameroon.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Maybe he's not, but the people of Philly, I think, love Embiid. Like they just do.
For sure. I agree. But
does he love them back?
I think he does this in the same way because the Philly fans, like, they love their athletes, but at the same time, they are like at a moment's notice away. They're at a moment's notice away from throwing him in the garbage as soon as he's like doing something that they don't like.
One of the greatest the Philadelphia fan experience. There is a guy that saved a child from a fire, had to catch them falling out of a window, and he goes, "Good thing I'm not Nelson Aguilar because I can actually catch." Just in the middle, just saved a child's life, and just
wow.
Nelson Aguilar was a wide receiver that has bad hands and played for Philly. He just drops it in there. Just casually. That's the most Philadelphia.
Like somebody recording the video or
No,
what?
it was a newscast thing.
Oh, wow.
And he catches it, and then talking to the reporter, it's a good thing I can catch. I'm like Nelson Aguilar.
Oh, the guy who actually did it. Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll find it and then send it to you so you can look at it.
No, yeah, that's hilarious. That is definitely Philly, right on the nose. But yeah, I guess this Harden trade, I've heard some people saying that, I think the biggest reaction to it is people saying the Clippers aren't scary. Like, people are like, I feel like people think we should be scared of the Clippers. This is kind of coming from Nuggets fans. But I'm not scared at all. I'm not going to say I'm scared of the Clippers as a Nuggets fan necessarily, but they definitely are like much more in the mix of like a contender now in the West.
Yes, but like, I think people are looking at them in the same way of the names of like, it's 2014, run for your effing lives. James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Russell Westbrook are all on the same team.
Yeah.
It's just not that at all.
Yeah.
It's a very different, it's a respect. Okay, like these guys can all hoop, can play ball.
Mm-hmm. They're all still very good.
They're all still good, but they're just not, none of them are peak of their powers right now.
Unless Kawhi and Paul George could be still, if we see them
We haven't
play.
seen it in stretches, so I'm just going to say they're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do I
That's
think
fair.
that Kawhi can just show up and for a week be like, you guys thought Jokic was the best player on this planet?
Yeah.
Haha. And just like goes,
Does his laugh.
just does. Obviously, he wouldn't verbatim say that, but he could just show up and do it, because in that playoff series, we saw like 2 games of like, that is a terrifying man to have to play against.
Yep.
And then he stopped again.
Yeah. And what he did was just went toe-to-toe with KD and was out-dueling him those first 2 games.
Definitively. Not even close. Just definitively was like, you have nothing on me.
Yep. Also, by the way, Devin Booker was on the other team as well. But yeah, the Clippers, I think, went up 2-0, I want to say.
Yeah, like somehow Kawhi Leonard was both the first and second best player on the court. He took 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then everyone else filled in.
Mm-hmm.
He was that not only good, but Kawhi was always like, oh, he quietly has this. He quietly did all this stuff.
Yeah.
Offensively. But both his offense and his defense were loud in those 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There were a lot of possessions with him on KD. Not like every possession, obviously, but there were a few. Enough for it to be like a bunch of clippable moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this Clippers team is scary if they are all healthy
and all can like work together and play together.
Well, I think I'm not worried about that part at all. I guess that's probably what we should talk about here, because that's good that you brought that up, because that is another criticism that I've seen from people of saying that this Clippers team won't work. There's too many guys who need the ball, which is like, who needs the ball? I mean, Russ, I feel like, has been okay.
He's done a lot better with the Clippers than he did with the Lakers, of being like,
yeah, like he still needs the ball a little bit, but it's not like it's 2017 Russ anymore. No. And then Harden has been like distributing and playing, like, not necessarily playing off the ball, but being able to dish a lot more and not be as much of like the scorer and ISO creator like he used to be.
He's been like point guard Harden in Philly.
Yeah.
And in Brooklyn.
So running pick and pops with Harden and Kawhi, or Harden and Paul George, is like a great, like, the thing is, Kawhi and Paul George have both never been guys that are like, oh, they need the ball in their hands. Like they do good with the ball in their hands, but like they're both big wings that can shoot, catch and shoot super well. Neither of them are like point guard, like,
needy for in terms of percentage of ball time, whatever you call it. Usage. They don't need to have an insanely high usage.
Exactly.
Because the percent they get is just an efficient time.
Yeah, exactly. They're like Jalen and Tatum. They're Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. That's kind of the same lane that they're in. Like with the Celtics, this whole time that we're like, oh, they need a point guard. But like with the Clippers, it's like, oh, they have these guys that can play on ball. That's a problem. You know what I mean? Like doesn't make sense. If the Celtics had, maybe not Russ, because you probably wouldn't like that, but like just remove your bias of like who Russ and Harden
No,
are.
I would take Russ.
Okay, you would take that. Like Russ and Harden
Well,
on
I
the
don't
Celtics
want Harden
team.
because of the teams he's played for and the way he's left.
Yeah, I
Russ,
get that.
I'm fine with Russ.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have any. I'm like a Russ stan a little bit, not like hardcore, but
Okay.
I'm not anti-Russ.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that people forget that he had like as many triple doubles as Jokic has had, but it feels like Jokic has done it over like a bunch of years. Russ just did it in like 2.
Yeah.
Which is just
after
crazy.
KD left, yeah.
Yeah, after KD, he just was like, I'm going to have 42 or 41 triple doubles in a season.
I think I looked that up after we talked about that one episode. I think now I don't remember it again, but I think it was 42, I want to say.
It was either half or over half. It was disgusting. Mm-hmm. Like, that is crazy. Because I know he averaged a triple double.
Yeah,
but
he did that twice. At least twice, maybe even 3 times.
I know his first MVP, or his only MVP, it was
2017
was the first time anybody had ever averaged a triple double, right?
Since Oscar Robertson, a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it was the first season since, because I think Oscar might have done it either once or twice. And then
it was
Westbrook
the first in the modern version of basketball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
3-point line. No, Robertson had the 3-point line.
No, I don't think so. 1980 was the first year with the.
So then he definitely didn't. I'm delusional. I thought it was. Yeah. I don't know.
He was older in 71, 72 range where he won the championship with the Bucks. So I think he might have been out of the league by the time the 3-point line was there. But yeah, Russ though, he got a triple double. Let's look at this. 3 seasons now. Yeah, with Washington, he did that. And it was like a loud one. Holy cow. Like the most like well above the.
What was it?
4 times. He's averaged a triple double on a season 4 times.
2 Houston or 2 OKC and then
3 OKCs.
3 OKCs and then the Washington one.
Yeah. So 2017 was his first one, which was 31.6 points per game. That was the big thing. He averaged 31.6 points per game. So huge scoring numbers. And then 10.7 rebounds, 10.4 assists.
Because the assist was the one that everybody was like, oh, is he going to get it? I remember the assist was the one that everybody was like, this is going to be close.
Yeah. And then the next year, 25.4 points, and then 10.1 rebounds, 10.3 assists. Next season, 23 points per game, 11 rebounds, 10.7 assists. So that was like even better as far as like the rebounds and assists getting easier. And then Washington was ridiculous. He got 22.2 points per game, but he had 11.5 rebounds and 11.7 assists.
I think it's probably because the points were only I understand, at 22 is why it wasn't like this, what the heck?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He had a great year in Washington.
No,
and he was not an all-star.
People love him.
Yeah.
Because they're like, he came here, he probably didn't want to be here, but he just like played as hard as he could and got us to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he like made a little bit of noise in the playoffs. I think they lost first round, but they were like aggressive.
Yeah, they did against the Sixers. Yeah. Who were the 1 seed that year.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I would be fine if Russell Westbrook somehow physically could work out into Boston. But I'm pretty content with Bald Man Buffalo Soldier. Instead of us going forever, we could. I'm good to stop talking about Russell Westbrook and the Clippers because I think Wemby deserves maybe an episode in himself.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I'm gonna send Logan a picture here, and then hope if you can just like show it.
Yeah,
this is just this is crazy.
Yeah, that is
okay. So for reference, Logan will probably pop a picture up here now that I've got it sent to him, and he's frozen. No, he's unfrozen. You are not frozen anymore. So this is crazy. Kevin Durant, 6'11", 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
For reference, this looks like a child and a normal sized adult man.
Mm-hmm. It really does. Like it's
KD's fingertip is at his elbow.
Yeah,
his elbow.
Yeah, it's literally what...
This is what KD does to, like, Isaiah Thomas.
Exactly what I was about to say. It's like what everybody looks like guarding KD. this is what KD looks like guarding Victor. That's how big of a difference this is. And honestly, Victor seems to have more of like a Mamba mentality in a way than KD does.
Well, no, and then also, I think the first step is what we talked about like last episode about Wemby. Is he like, the Spurs were like, we're not going to use you how we're supposed to, you silly goose. Mm-hmm. We're not going to do that. We're in crunch time. Stand down there and get the rebounds, young man. And now they're like, let's just not force feed him, but he was definitely like
more involved, yeah.
Like Greg Popovich took all of them by the ears like a grandpa is what I visualized. It was like, okay, you guys can try to score, but if you don't look at Wemby, I'm going to cut all of you.
Yeah.
Not with a knife. You're not going to be on my NBA roster.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
When crunch time is around, everyone, let's look for potentially the greatest basketball player to breathe oxygen in the history of mankind. Does that sound like a good idea, everyone? And then, all of a sudden, they're duking it out with anybody in crunch time. And Wemby's just... And the thing that I loved about Wemby, it is one sequence. So, at the top of the key, I don't know, I don't remember who... Anyway, they throw this like kind of bad lob pass to Wemby, but he's going to get it because he's literally a tree, and he catches it. And then instead of going up bad and weak, he flicks it out to the three-point line for his wide-open friend to just splash it. And I'm like, he could have went up and had a contested, easy-ish layup because he's a giant human. But he
saw the open three.
He sees the open three and goes, Pachoo! And then he hits another three, and then this picture happens, and then they take down the Phoenix Suns. Some people think the only people that could challenge the throne of the Denver Nuggets, and they beat them twice in 3 days. They give them a day off to adjust, and they just go, can't do it.
Even bigger of a win, yeah.
Just the first one, I'm like, okay, Spurs, I apologize. I didn't fully understand that Wemby was going to adapt like an off-season's worth of work in a week. Shout out to you, Victor Wembanyama, for cooking with the most sauciest of sauces. Sorry, I just was so impassioned watching him. I almost forgot about my boy Chet. I thought I had a chance. After that first week, I'm like, Chet's playing so good, and Victor's like kind of adjusting. I didn't know that it would take a week for Wembanyama to look like it's his sophomore season, which shame on me. But
I mean, that game against KD, that last Suns game was like a legit, like an all NBA type of player game. Like,
no, it's just like, I don't think everybody thought he was like, okay, he's gonna be good. Like, he's gonna be good right away. He might not be insane right away, but if he does this, like, even if he does this once a week, one of his 3 games a week, that's crazy. Like, because you said you hit the on the nose. He looked like a top 15 player on planet Earth for 48 minutes in that game.
And I'm questioning if it might be more repeatable than people think, because that was the only game, at least I believe that's been the only game so far this season where the Spurs have played without Devin Vassell, who a lot of people were saying, not a lot of people, but anybody who said Wemby wasn't the best player on this team coming into the season, people were saying it was Devin Vassell. And Devin Vassell's been had more usage so far this season. You know, he's been more the focal point offensively. And I think that, like, we saw exactly the reason why it should be Wemby in that second Suns game, where they dominated the entire game, where it was like Wemby was getting a lot more of the touches. He was more the primary focal point of the offense, instead of like just having all these reps with Vassell kind of just creating something in the mid-range and stuff. You know, I feel like it should be Vassell playing off of Wemby, not the other way around.
And I think the thing that gets me so passionate is it's not even like, oh, his numbers were big. Haha, brr. In the first Suns game, he had 4 blocks and only 3 personal fouls. You know what one of the hardest things to figure out how to do in the NBA on the defensive side is? I got something in my eye. Anyway.
Especially as a big shot blocker.
As a big shot blocker is to, against these elite foul drawers, to stay clean.
Yep.
And he stayed clean. Except for his first game. I think he had like 5.
Yeah, first game was not great, but
and then
you expect that though as a young player.
38 points, 10 boards, 2 blocks, a steal. Not that many assists, but Who
And
cares?
he like closed it out down the stretch.
He was why they won that game.
Oh yeah.
It was him
100%.
just being, and I think it's just because it was like away. It wasn't at home. There were so many things that were good. The only bummer is they looked like crap on Sunday against the Lakers. That kind of splashed water on.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see this. It's going to be an up and down season for sure with how young that team is. It's the youngest team in the NBA.
And he looked bad also, I think, is the other piece
Yeah.
of that puzzle.
Mhm.
But it just, this is terrifying.
Yeah,
If
it really is.
It took him 5 games. 1, 2, 3.
That was his 6th game, I think.
That was his 4th and 5th game. It took him, we'll call it 5 games, just to be like, okay, I'm comfortable now.
Yeah.
Run for the hills, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You just gave Greg Popovich his 3rd Hall of Fame center.
Yeah. I saw Brian Windhorst said, because Brian Windhorst was the guy that's been covering LeBron like ever since he was in high school. He's like, that's the reason Brian Windhorst is Brian Windhorst now, is because he was like the number 1 LeBron coverage guy. And he said that like the game that Wemby just had I think he said it was his 6th game of his career. I want to say, maybe it was 5th though. The second Suns game. He said that LeBron didn't have a game like at that level until his 65th game in the NBA. Like well into the end of his rookie season. And that's just kind of crazy to put that in perspective. Like LeBron, who we think of as like one of the best guys from day one.
Yes, one of the most start the motor, and he was decent. Yeah. He was good.
He was good, very good, yeah. Right away at a teenaged age, It wasn't like Tim Duncan, who was coming in like practically a 5th year guy, who like he should have been like a 5th year in the NBA his rookie season, and was dominating right away, and was an MVP. I think he got like 2nd or 3rd in MVP. Tim Duncan did, and he was a rookie, but that wasn't quite the same thing because he was well past the age of Wemby and LeBron. But yeah, that's just pretty crazy that Wemby has been performing the way he has been. I want to go back to where I said that it should be Vassell playing off of Wemby, not the other way around. I feel like it should be both of them playing off of each other is more what I mean. Like it just definitely shouldn't be Vassell dominating the ball and Wemby gets his where he can fit in type of thing. Like it definitely should be more of a inclusive offense between the two of them. Because Wemby is definitely going to be getting Vassell a lot of open looks and opportunities. I feel like it'll just be the smart thing for Vassell to actually lean into that because he's going to get, just like Jamal playing with Jokic, he's going to get so many high quality looks and like such easy offense playing a 2-man game with somebody like that.
Yeah, it just makes him better too. That's what I don't like. You would just look better if you utilize the pieces around you.
Yeah, instead
you
of
would
just
be regarded as a better basketball player. Straight up. No world you're not. Yeah.
For sure. I agree 100%. But yeah, that'll be fun to see where this Spurs team is at in like 2 years even from now. If they're competing for like a play-in spot or even above that. It'll be interesting to see. They'll definitely need to figure out like some of the other rotation pieces on their team. Not quite nailed down yet. I like Jeremy Sohan a lot. He's got to work on his shot a little bit, like at least a little bit. But yeah, that overall though they're looking pretty good, and I like that fit of Zach Collins and Wemby next to each other.
That works very well.
Very big front line. Yeah, I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to touch on or
no. I just wanted to I feel like I've portrayed myself as more of a Wemby hater, even though I'm not.
I wouldn't say that.
No, but
I guess kind of because
just in terms of my love affair with Chet. But yeah, that was just 2 games of just like this is potentially going to be a long ride for the rest of the NBA if things keep going in this trajectory. I don't think you can go much higher than being like that level You can in theory, but no, it was
I agree.
wild.
Yeah. So, by closing this thing out, there's just a couple quick things I'll mention. Don't need to really talk about them, but I remembered the other episode where we were talking about Julius Randle, and you said like, All-Star season. Like said it quite like with a question mark, and I was like, oh no, it was an All NBA season. He made 13 All NBA. That season that we were talking about, he actually made second team All NBA in 2021. 2023, he made third team All NBA. So he's been All NBA twice in his career now. Just a correction on that, because that's a big difference. He was second team All NBA in 2021 with LeBron James. That was the other forward on the All NBA second team. And 2023, he was third team. And also, that kind of goes with the joke that people have been making now that in even numbered years, Randle is trash, and odd number years, he's amazing. 2024 has been pretty bad so far. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was last night I watched the Charlotte and Indiana game, which was a wild finish. I don't know if you saw that. Tyrese Haliburton had 43 points.
Oh, we also should have definitely brought up NBA refs suck this year. Figure your life out, or you get paid to be an NBA ref. Sorry,
was there something that you saw?
The Warriors. What in the garbage?
Yeah.
I forgot about my secondary thinking hat. I'm an OKC Thunder stan. We should still be undefeated. Or 1 loss.
I don't know what the Thunder's record is right now.
They would have had 2 losses, because I knew they lost to the Nuggets. Also lost to the Pelicans. And that Warriors one was also 141 to 139. What a wild game.
Which game?
That Warriors game was 141 to 139. They lost. That was just... But there's been a lot of other things of just refs being inconsistent. And I feel like they're just inconsistent to the rules that are written in hard ink.
Yeah.
Maybe we just follow those?
Mm-hmm. I've never seen that before. It must be some sort of ruling thing that they can do. But I've never heard that before, where the end of the game.
There you go. Here's context for people.
Yeah. So at the end of the game between the Warriors and the Thunder, Steph went up for a game-winning layup and sank it, but it bounced around on the rim a little before it went in, and Draymond Green jumped up in preparation for a tip-in, putback, and he didn't. He pulled away. He stopped because he saw the ball was gonna stay in probably, but he instead just basically slaps the rim, not like a just a little innocent barely tap. He full on smacked the rim, made it shake a little bit. I don't think it affected the shot necessarily.
No, it definitely didn't.
But you can't know that for sure, because it did hit the rim after he hit the rim with his hand. And there's not no world where it could have done a little bit maybe, but it's the thing is, that's a rule for a reason, because you don't want to go into the judgment zone of it probably didn't affect this. He grabbed the rim, he smacked the rim full on. That's against the rules. That's it. That's an offensive interference.
Well, I think the thing is, immediately everyone that was watching it on both sides had the corresponding reaction of Draymond touched the rim. That bucket doesn't count. Yeah,
the Warriors were not arguing it. The Warriors weren't arguing it at all. Yeah. Afterwards, because they were going to official review to make sure, because they didn't call it initially. They were going to review to see if it did happen, and then as they were reviewing it, the Warriors bench were all it showed shots of Draymond walking up to Steph and being like, "My bad," and being all disappointed. They all were like, "Dang, that we lost because of that." And then
it wasn't a loss; it would have been tied. I think at that point.
Yeah, okay. It might have been
139. Anyway, I know.
Yeah. So it would have been tied. Yeah, for sure.
That was nitty-gritty for no reason.
No, yeah, you're right though. For some reason I was thinking they were not tied, but but it was a big moment for sure. And Draymond, so they were accepting that it was a goaltend or an offensive interference, and then the ref comes over. They must have heard it before he said it into the microphone because all of the Warriors players just start like running around celebrating on the court while everybody's quiet because they're like trying to see what the ref is going to say. And he's like, he basically says, the ruling on the floor stands, is a good basket. Draymond Green does touch the rim on the shot, but it was inconsequential, or like it did not affect the outcome of the shot. So it was deemed like irrelevant, basically. It was like, what? You can do that? You can just say that it doesn't matter that he broke the rules? Like, that's insane. And like, apparently I saw the next day or like sometime later on a broadcast, I think it was Malika Andrews who was talking about the game on ESPN, who said that apparently what the ruling was, they changed it to, they called it goaltend on Giddey for grabbing the net below
he hit
Draymond.
The net as Draymond's arm body forced Giddey's hand into the net. He didn't grab the net, his hand went into the net.
Yeah.
Because Draymond's entire body was moving towards the rim. Not that that's a problem with Draymond, but if you want to call anything inconsequential, having an entire adult male push your arm forward
into just the net that doesn't move the rim at all.
Into just the net before the ball's in the air.
Yeah.
Giddey's hand cleared. The ball's not touching anything as Giddey's hand's moving through. Yeah, anyway.
And also, I'm fine with them, not fine, but that makes more sense than what they did. Like, if they would have said that. They didn't say that. The ref didn't mention that as, like, part of the call, or he just said, nope, what Draymond did doesn't really matter, so it was a basket. It was a good basket. Like, he didn't say that there was a goaltend on Josh Giddey. But apparently it might have gone down that way in like the official ruling, like what's on the play-by-play chart or whatever. But that's not what he said.
And then the other thing that didn't get brought up was the Warriors were not called for a delay of game when the Thunder were ready for the inbound of the basketball after the final basket, which Irving said the referees had to clear up, quote, multiple administrative matters before restarting play.
Oh. Interesting.
Super legitimate phrasing there. Anyway, That's all I got on Wemby. That's all I got on that. What we were talking about something a little bit before we got there.
Yeah, I was going to mention
down a rabbit hole.
I was saying, well, it was the last thing I was going to mention for this episode. It was the game I saw last night between the Hornets and the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton had 43 points. It was a really good game down the stretch. But there was a play in there where Aaron Nesmith, he basically just got in the way of Brandon Miller, who was guarding Tyrese Halliburton, who had 43 points and hit 7 threes in that game. So Brandon Miller was trying to rush out to Tyrese Halliburton in the corner.
Breaking news. CJ McCollum has a collapsed right lung.
I feel like he's had that before. It's like...
Well, he does now.
Why? He keeps having lung issues.
Yeah, and they also... he retweeted this. They did a picture of him doing this.
Okay.
Holding his breath, like
in a game.
And CJ McCollum says, this is an insane picture to post with the news.
Yeah.
Like the actual CJ McCollum. Like, this is not like a fake account. But anyway, we didn't get jumped this time like we did with the Harden thing, like hours after we stopped.
Yeah.
We got hardened, but this also isn't the same level of news. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
I was just saying that Brandon Miller, he was guarding Tyrese Halliburton, who had 43 points that game and 7 3-pointers. And so Tyrese Halliburton was in the corner. Brandon Miller was rushing out to get to him. And Aaron Nesmith just kind of walks in, it's definitely a moving screen. He's trying to get in front of him to keep him from getting out there. And Brandon Miller just kind of is trying to get through there and runs straight into the middle of his chest and runs him over. And Nesmith flips out and starts running at him. And I just love, I've said before, I'm not a fan of Brandon Miller, but I feel like I might start becoming a fan of him. His personality has a little bit of a charm to it because the way he reacts to Aaron Nesmith is hilarious. He runs him over and then gets up and then he sees Nesmith just running up on him, all mad and trying to get up in his grill. And Brandon Miller doesn't flinch or do anything. He just looks over at him and just gives him this glare that is really this is what you're doing right now. He was completely just not amused by it. It was one of the funniest reactions I've seen to somebody trying to fight somebody else. But yeah, and apparently he's from Nashville, Brandon Miller. That's his hometown, born and raised. And that's where he was in high school. And Vanderbilt is in Nashville, and that's where Aaron Nesmith went to college. So I'm guessing they have to know each other pretty well.
I just watched the clip.
The way he looks at him is hilarious.
He's like, because then he like stumbled into Halliburton.
Yeah,
and then he like as Nesmith runs at him, Halliburton's in between the two. And it's like the Nick Young what? Oh, it's like the Russ Westbrook. He's just like,
he's like, what are you doing? It's just I also just was confused
and he's like
why
sitting
was
on the Pacers bench essentially.
Yeah, yeah. It was a funny clip for anybody who hasn't seen it. But yeah, that was just a great game overall, by the way. Worth a watch if you and also got to watch it on Charlotte's broadcast because Eric Collins is a must-watch broadcast. He just makes every game so fun. I don't know.
That's good.
He just does. But we don't need to revisit that because we are well within a normal time span of an episode, what it should be. And so yeah, we will end it here. Try to make this be more the norm from now on. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Please do all the stuff that we usually say, like subscribe and like the video if you're on YouTube. Follow the feed on Spotify.
/Hoop Theory.
Yeah, patreon.com/Hoop Theory. Buy me a coffee /Hoop Theory. If you want to support the show, go to those places. And so yeah, follow the feed on Spotify, rate the show, do all those things. Appreciate you guys watching and consuming the content. Also, announcement. I know I just announced a couple episodes ago that I was changing the schedule for uploading on the TikToks and the shorts. I'm gonna move it to every day of the week now, not including the weekends for videos because it is getting to be a little bit of a too much on my plate, I guess, for trying to pump out a short every single day. I would like to pump out like good quality shorts and not just rushed ones that are like, have to put it out. So yeah, so it'll be Monday. Every Monday will be a Pirtle video, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be pod clips of us here talking, and then Friday will be a rotating game one between a NBA hoop grid or a Larry Birdle game, maybe a dribble game. One of those will be every Friday. So that will be the plan from now on. Try to stick to that for those of you who care. But yeah, that will be it for today's episode. So stay happy, stay healthy. We will talk to you guys next time.
Peace.